Hey lovelies, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Tola. If you're new here, you're welcome. Please consider subscribing and remember to click on the bell notification icon. That way you get notified every single time I upload a new video, which is at least once every week. So truthfully speaking, this video is long overdue and it has been requested quite a few times. We're going to be talking about the fees, we're going to be talking about the different requirements, and I'm just basically going to be talking you through the checklist. Some of them you might find shocking, but yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so huge disclaimer, I am not an immigration expert. I just read up on updates regarding the UK immigration laws and I try to bring it to the large house and so we can rub minds together. First of all, we're going to start off with the meaning of the spousal visa so that you know that this is the right category for you to apply. So the UK spousal visa applies to applicants who wish to join their UK partner in the UK. It's firstly important to note that the applicant does not have any UK visas which are issued for longer than 6 months, and they must make the applications from outside the UK. Secondly, if the applicant is in the UK as a visitor, they must make the application from outside the UK. This will require them to leave the UK and submit the application from their country of nationality or legal residence. So you cannot make this application while you are in the country. You have to do it from your own country. So you can't do this kind of application while you're on a visitor's visa. And so the UK spousal visa can lead to indefinite leave to remain and British citizenship ultimately. So once the applicant has spent about 5 years, which is about 6 months in the UK as a partner, not including any time spent in the UK as a fiancé or proposed civil partner, they are normally able to apply for indefinite leave to remain, which is also known as ILR. It's also important to note that the spousal visa will not allow an applicant to receive most UK benefits. Those in the UK on the UK spousal visa will not be able to receive public funds. The public funds are, your disability grants, care allowance, council tax benefits, state pension credits, things like that. You will be able to work on the spousal visa. So you can either be employed by an employer, you can be self-employed, and you can start your own specified limited company. So you can have a registered business here in the UK on the spousal visa. All right, so for the cost of the spousal visa, the Home Office fee for the spousal visa will be £1,538, and this has gone up about £15 from 2022. In April, it was formerly £1,523. You will also be required to pay the immigration health charge, and that is £1,872. So this cost covers the duration of the spousal visa. So, all right. So also, if you are looking to get an immigration lawyer to do this application for you, which I strongly do not advise because you don't need them, you can do this application yourself. So far you can read and you have a thinking brain. So if you are willing to take up an immigration lawyer, you should be looking at anything from about £1,000 to £3,000, which is money down the pit if you ask me. I mean, what they do is basically what you can do. You file these things yourself. So if this is something that you're willing to consider, the spousal visa route can take you about a month to 2 months to get all your documents ready, talking about your tuberculosis certificate, your proof of English. Yes, there's a proof of English test for your spousal visa. And also, things like getting your accounts ready and all of that. I'll be talking in more details as we progress. So for this visa category, you are looking about 6 months for you to get your decision. If you are considering a priority route, you should also be looking at about 2 to 3 months, which basically slashes the time in half. And yes, there's a cost to pay for that, or £573 for the priority service. So there's a suitability requirement for this visa category, and this is something that a lot of people need to pay attention to because you need to do some sort of background check on the person that you are marrying, or the person that you are married to, or the person that you intend to file this application for, or even if it's yourself. So for the suitability requirements, an example is that an applicant has been told by the government, by the UK government, that he or she is not allowed in the UK. So this person must not have been refused or is not currently banned from the UK. An applicant has been given a deportation order or an applicant has been convicted of an offense, or an applicant's previous behavior makes it undesirable to grant them a spousal visa. A maintenance and accommodation undertaking has not been provided. An applicant has a bad criminal history. Obviously, that is a no-no. All right, so these are sort of things that you need to be able to say, okay, these requirements are in place for you to be able to say, yes, there is a possibility that you might get your decision. So these are things that you might need to check before you apply. You and your partner must be over the age of 18. You and the partner must intend to live together permanently in the UK. Applicant and the UK partner must have met in person. So this is not a long distance relationship. This is not a Skype relationship. This is not a virtual relationship that obviously they might ask for proof or something like that. So your UK partner must be one of the following: either a British citizen in the UK, have a present or settled in the UK. This person is someone who has been granted settled or pre-settled status under the EU settlement scheme, or this person is in the UK with a refugee leave or with humanitarian protection, or this is someone in the UK with limited leave as a worker or business person under the Appendix ECAA extension of stay. Another requirement is that you and your partner must not be within the prohibited degree of relationships, meaning that this person cannot be your mother, the spouse cannot be your mother, you are not allowed to be related to this person in any shape or form. You are not, this person is not your long lost brother, your son's sister's brother's nephew's cousin. You understand what I'm talking about? So yeah, you're not allowed to be related to this person in any way. Your relationship with your partner must be genuine and subsisting. Applicants must persuade the Home Office that there is a 51% or more chance that the relationship is genuine. This is therefore important that you take the time to ensure that you submit a sufficient amount of evidence regarding the relationship between you and your partner. So this is something that I personally experienced. I was asked to show proof of my relationship with my husband when I was applying for my dependent visa. So I had to dig into my archives and submit pictures of when my husband and I started cutting, and we also had to submit family pictures. It will also be very beneficial if you put your marriage certificate and pictures of your family. You know, it would be good if you can show them sort of a timeline from when you started your relationship to the point of submitting your application. So yes, this will boost your chance of getting a positive response and also getting your visa ultimately. So another requirement is that applicants who are applying for a married or civil partner must be in a valid marriage or civil partnership. If the marriage or civil partnership takes place in the UK, the marriage or civil partnership must be recognized under the laws of England and Wales, Scotland, or Northern Ireland. If the marriage or civil partnership takes place outside the UK, the marriage or civil partnership must be valid under the laws in force in the relevant countries. Another requirement is that any previous relationship of the applicant or the spouse must be broken down permanently. So if you are separated from your previous partner, you have to show proof of that. You have to show every single detail to show that your previous relationships are permanently annulled. You see, now this is where it really starts to tick me off. For the spousal visa, there is a English requirement, which does not make any sense to me. And there are some countries that have been exempt from this, obviously. Unless the applicant is exempt, they must be able to submit with the application proof that they meet the English language requirements. The list of countries will be on your screen, but I hardly see any African countries here. I mean, you have Australia, the Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Canada, Dominica, Jamaica, Malta, New Zealand, St. Lucia, oh, Trinidad and Tobago, no surprises there. and of course the United States. But then where are the African countries? I mean, you colonized us. Why do we have to prove that we can speak the language of our colonial masters? Well, previous colonial masters. But I don't know. But you guys, what do you think on that? What's your take on that? I mean, it's the same English that we're speaking, isn't it? They even put reason under. I don't know what sent them, but they said that this is because they are a national of a home office designated majority English speaking country. So all of you that you are borrowing the English language to use, you have to show proof that you can speak the language. Okay. All right, so they have made another exemption or category of people who are exempt from the English language requirement, and you can either be one of three. So you can either be over 65 years or 65 years and over at the date of your application. Another category of those who are exempt are if you have a disability that is either physical or mental, which prevents them from taking the English test, or they have exceptional circumstances that prevent them from satisfying the requirements before entering the UK. So you see, the reason why I would not advise anyone to go for this disability that they are either physically or mentally exempt from writing the English test is because this thing goes on your record. You cannot plead insanity at the port of entry, and then when you are now in the country, you are now claiming renewed body, mind, and soul. It goes on your record, so you are admitted into the country as someone who is mentally or physically impaired, and yeah, there are some restrictions to that when you're in the country as well. So that's why I would not advise anybody to do that. The applicant has an English taught academic degree, master's or PhD from a university in the UK. They can use this to satisfy the English language requirement. And there's another category. So if the applicant has an English taught degree equivalent to a bachelor's, master's, or PhD degree that was awarded outside the UK, they can use this to satisfy the English language requirement. Okay, so for the English language requirement, you are required to write the life skill A1 test. If you don't know what that is, I will leave a link in the description box below, so please look it up. So if none of the above applies, applicants must pass a Home Office approved secure English language test. It's a listening and speaking test. So you can also use NARIC for this as well. If you're also going to be doing the life skill A1 test, I think it's going to cost you about £150. So for the TB requirement, depending on the country that you're applying for, so yeah, you have to meet this requirement. It is going to be on the checklist to make this application. It's also important to note that there are some people who are exempt from taking the TB test. The first category are for those who are known diplomats to the UK, and we also have the applicants who have lived for at least 6 months in a country where TB screening is not required. So if you're coming from a country where TB screening is not required and you've lived there for about 6 months, you are exempt from taking the TB test. So that's money saved on that one. So we also know that the TB test is valid for 6 months. You make sure that you do that towards the end, like after you've gotten all the other requirements, so it doesn't go to waste. Okay, so it's getting interesting now. So there is also an accommodation requirement for the spousal visa. I'll explain. The UK property that the applicant and the UK partner intend to live in must be owned or occupied exclusively by their family. It must also not be overcrowded as defined by the House Act in 1985. Furthermore, it is essential to note that you will be expected to provide documentation to show that the applicant and sponsor will legally occupy the UK property. They said the accommodation cannot be prospective, like it's not in the foreseeable future. I mean, you actually have the accommodation ready because you will be asked to fill in your address and all of that. I'm sure it will be on the application form. So you will need an accommodation already available to be able to make this application. So there are two sides to this. If you're applying with children, there's a different amount. If you're applying with just a spouse, there's a different amount. So the UK partner will need to have an annual income of 18,600. Now, if the dependent children below the age of 16 is not British or the EEA national with the right to remain, the UK partner will need to have an annual income of 22,400 plus the 2,400 for an additional child. So if you have any savings, it will be good to declare it on your application and also state the amount. I mean, if you have pension, salary that is still going to be coming into your account, state all of that. It will definitely boost your chances from what they say here. So there's a checklist for all of this, and make sure that you have all the documents, you have gone through your application several times. So from this whole list, I would say that the English requirement and also the accommodation is the two striking things for me for the spousal route. If you are already in the UK and you want to bring in your family, you want to bring in your wife or your husband, these are the list of things to do. The checklist will be on the government website, that's gov.uk. That is where you can get up-to-date information regarding the immigration coming into the country, and the fees, the charges, and all of that. All right, so for whoever is currently looking to apply through this route, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I would love to hear it. I do my best to respond to every single comment. Leave this video a huge thumbs up. It does a lot to help my analytics here, and also get other people to see this video. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.